Recently, I got certified as a facilitator for a thing called Prepare and Enrich. Prepare and Enrich is this relationship assessment tool. You got two people, they're married or they're dating or they're whatever, and they each take a little test and it generates a little report. And then I, as the facilitator, go through that report with the people. And it identifies the things that are strong about the relationship and the things that maybe are growth areas for the relationship. And there are exercises that one can do, or that a couple can do, to help make those strong areas stronger and help grow in those areas that need growth. I'm telling you this for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, I do continuing education. That feels like it's important for you to know. I'm getting better all the time. Reason number 2, I just got certified on this and I need people to practice on. So if you are in a relationship or a marriage and you would like to help me out, I would be happy to practice on you. There's a small fee to take the assessment, but you get the facilitator sessions for free, and I will try not to wreck your relationship. Reason number 3. The first couple that I practiced on was me and Mariah. And I want to emphasize that I asked Mariah if I could tell this story before I told this story. I do want to stay married. When I asked Mariah about taking the assessment, she immediately said, yes, I'll help out. And when I got the report back, her very first question was, did we win? Now, Mariah will tell you that that was a joke, but it is also true that that says something about how Mariah responds to tests and assessments, and I've known her long enough, and I've heard her parents tell stories, and I've heard her tell stories, to know that that is often how Mariah approaches tests and assessments. Mariah is someone who gets, and has almost always gotten, straight A's. Mariah is someone who, after a test in seminary, we would go back to our place, to our apartment, and review the answers to make sure that she got them all right. Because Mariah has standards. Not sure why she married me, but she has standards. And there's something good about that. Right? There's something good about knowing I have standards and I want to do my best. But that can get turned. That can get tilted. That can get skewed. That can get broken. There's sometimes that desire to say, I want to be the greatest. I want to be the best. I want to be the most important. And a broken world, a world that is under the powers of sin and death and everything that makes life less, will tell us how we can be great, how we can be important, how we can be the best. I can have the most prestigious job. I can have the nicest house. I can have the coolest car. I can have the biggest bank account. I can have people honor me in the streets. People who pass by wave at me and tell me how amazing I am, and that is how I will know that I am great. And the cool thing about that, says a broken world, says a world that is under the powers of sin and death and everything that makes life less, is that part of what makes that greatness great is not everybody can have it. Not everyone can have the nicest house, the most prestigious job, the coolest car, the biggest bank account. Greatness is a limited and scarce resource. And if I want to be great, if I want to be the greatest, I need to get as much of that as I can. And then I'll know that I'm great, because I'll know that others are not. In our reading today, we get these three little episodes, these three little moments. One of those is the kind of moment that we're hanging out in Mark 4, where Jesus tells the disciples that he is going to die, that he is going to be arrested, that he is going to be betrayed, that he is going to suffer, that he is going to be crucified, that he is going to end up in a tomb, and that he's going to come back to life. And the disciples don't understand, which is fair, so they don't say anything. And then Jesus and the disciples travel on, and the disciples start arguing amongst themselves. Who do you think is the greatest of us? Who do you think does the best job of following that guy? You think it's Peter? Think it's Bartholomew? I'm voting for Matthew. I'm voting for myself. I think I'm the greatest. I am the best at this. I follow Jesus the best. I am the greatest. And when they get where they're going, Jesus asks them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" And they tell him, "We were arguing about who your favorite is." And Jesus tells them, you know, there are people for whom being great is about having the most prestigious job or the nicest house or the coolest car or the biggest bank account. It's about being served. It's about sitting on that throne. It's about having courtiers all around you. It's about being told how great you are. But for you, greatness is about serving others. You want to be great? Go out and serve as many people as you can, as best you can. You want to be great? Be a slave to everyone. And that language is problematic, but there's something there. You want to see greatness? You want to see greatness? Watch the God who is love, the sovereign of the universe, the creator of all that is, lay glory aside and come into the world as one of us, among a dispossessed people in an occupied land, a peasant in an empire, and start wandering around teaching and healing, up to the point where that empire gets so upset, where that broken world gets so angry, where the powers of sin and death and everything that makes life less get so furious that they take the God who is love, the sovereign of the universe, the creator of all that is, and nail him to a cross until he dies. And then watch the God who is love, the sovereign of the universe, the creator of all that is, get up and restore all of creation to life. Sap the power from the empire. Repair and restore a broken world, filling the cracks in with love, defeating the powers of sin and death and everything that makes life less. You want to be great? Walk that path. That's where greatness comes from. That is how we join God in the work of being great. That is how we join Christ in the honor of being, in the honor of abiding in love. That is what greatness is. But then he takes it further. Then we get our third little bit. Someone comes to him and says, there is somebody else doing deeds of power in your name. Should we go and stop him? And I don't know quite what that means. I don't know if that means that somebody else is running around just saying, I work for Jesus, or whether that means that somebody else is going around saying, have you heard of that Jesus guy? That's me. But he's exorcising demons. He's turning water to wine. He's taking a couple loaves of bread and a few fish and feeding a bunch of people. And understandably, somebody comes up and says, but you're the one who does that. We can't let somebody else claim that power for themselves. Should we go and stop him? And Jesus says, no, of course not. If he's not against us, he's for us. And you can't do good things like that without getting some goodness on you. He won't be able to speak ill of the good that he is doing. Let him keep going. And I think what Jesus is doing there is flipping that script between inside and outside. There is that desire to say, if I am great, I get the greatness, nobody else gets it. And Jesus says, no, anybody can do this. Anybody can be great. Anybody can participate in love. Anybody can do good things. Everybody has the chance. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King once said, anybody can be great because everybody can serve. And he was right, and that's the lesson in today's scripture. Anybody can be great because everybody can serve. Greatness is not a limited resource because everybody can serve. And even when we look out and see people who we might think are serving weirdly, doing things in the name of Jesus that we don't quite catch on to, but they're good, those people are participating in greatness because those people are serving. This is a thing that Jesus asks us to do again and again. This is a thing that Jesus does again and again. Jesus flips that script. The God who is love, the sovereign of the universe, the creator of everything, who ought to be staying in the highest of heavens, just watching over stuff and being worshipped and honored and glorified, lays aside glory and becomes one of us. Jesus tells us that image of God that we have in our head is not who God is. Because God is love, and love serves. That idea of greatness that so many of us have in our heads, and it gets me to that idea of greatness that says, I should serve the biggest church, the most popular church, the one that everybody wants to be a part of, the great version of greatness that says, I should go to the biggest church, the most popular church, the church with the best reputation. The version of greatness that says, I should have the most prestigious job and the nicest house and the coolest car and the biggest bank account. Jesus says, no, that's not greatness. Jesus flips the script. Says that greatness is what comes from serving others. You can have all the stuff. It's how you use it that counts. And Jesus even takes the idea of inside and outside. That idea that what's important is being on the inside. What's important is being on the right side of the boundary, doing things the right way in the right name. That's what's important. And Jesus flips the script and says, no. If you're not against us, you're for us. If you're doing the right things, that's what counts. If you're abiding in love, you're abiding in me. And I can't help but think of how changed the world would be if we flipped the script on those ideas in our own lives and in our own world. If what we expected out of the people who we imagined to be great, if what we expected out of leaders and celebrities and ourselves was not that they or we get the most, but that they or we give the most. If what we expected out of ourselves was not that we have the most people in this room, but that we have the most people out in the community helping others. The most people at the referral center. The most people at an animal shelter. The most people just wandering around spreading joy and happiness and love. We can't help but imagine how the world would be different if we thought that everybody who isn't against us is for us, if everybody who's not fighting us is on our side, that every act of love is part of our work. This is one of those sermons that I don't quite know how to end. That happens occasionally. But it's partly because this is the kind of sermon that doesn't end. This is the kind of sermon that needs that constant reminder. That constant piece that says, my greatness does not come from what the world asks me to consider great. My greatness comes from the fact that I am rooted in love, spreading love. And I will know that I am great, that I am important, that I matter, not when other people tell me that I am great, that I am important, that I matter, but when I see the smile of joy on the face of a person who I have helped. That is the honor. That is the accolade. That is the assurance. And the joy is that I and you and everyone can get all of that. There is enough greatness to go around until everything is great. Thanks be to God.